Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about how custom AI is getting tailored for the classroom. We're talking about a shift from a tool that knows literally everything to a partner that knows exactly what a student needs to learn.
So let's start with a really big idea. Just imagine an AI, something like Google's Gemini, that has access to, well, basically the entire library of world information. It's an amazing thought, right? But if you're a student just trying to learn one specific thing, it can feel like you've been dropped in the middle of the world's biggest library with absolutely no map.
And this image just nails that challenge, doesn't it? On the left, you've got that huge infinite library. It's incredible. But for actual focused learning, what educators and students really need is that private study room on the right. So the question is, how do we get there? How do you actually focus all that AI power?
Well, to make AI a truly effective tool for schools, we have to draw a really clear line between that massive, open library of everything and a dedicated, curated space just for learning. So let's dig into what that difference really looks like.
Okay, this chart gets right to the heart of it. Think of this standard Gemini as that public library on the left. It knows everything, sure, but every time you talk to it, it's a blank slate. Now, a custom gem on the right? That's your private study room. In there, you've already handpicked the books from the shelves, you've set the house rules for the conversation, and you've made sure it only uses the materials you've provided.
So, how do we actually build one of these private AI study rooms? Who gets to set the rules and pick out the books? Well, that's the cool part. That power is put directly into the hands of the educator.
Put simply, a gem is just a reusable set of instructions. It's a prompt that you, the teacher, can save. And its whole job is to transform that general know-it-all AI into a specialist, a learning partner that's perfectly tailored for one specific lesson.
So let's take a look inside this study room. The hand-picked books, those are your actual class materials. You can upload your syllabus or specific readings. The house rules are where you define the AI's personality. You can turn it into a helpful tutor that asks guiding questions instead of just spitting out the answer. And the locked door? Honestly, this is crucial. It keeps the AI completely focused on your materials, so students can't just wander off into the rest of that infinite library.
Now, this all sounds great, but let's be real. What if you're not an expert at writing super complex instructions for an AI? How are you supposed to create the perfect set of rules for your study room?
Well, here's the good news. You don't have to be. Google has built in a tool that acts kind of like your own personal master librarian. You just give it a rough idea of what you want, and it helps you craft the perfect, detailed instructions to bring your custom gem to life.
It's a really simple three-step process. You start with just a basic idea, something like act as a history tutor. Then you consult the master librarian. You just click the little magic wand icon, and boom, it takes your simple idea and expands it into this rich, detailed set of instructions, defining the persona, the task, everything.
And this slide lays out that whole workflow just perfectly. First, you set it up. You define what it is and what it does. Then you apply best practices, like telling it to scaffold the learning. Start with small steps and build up. And finally, you test and refine it. You can even role play as a confused student long before you ever share it with your class.
Okay, let's get to what might be the most important question of all for any educator. Is this stuff safe? And is student data actually kept private? Right off the bat, the first and most important layer of protection is this. For any school using Google Workspace, the conversations that happen inside these custom study rooms are not reviewed by humans. That's a fundamental layer of privacy right there. So, and this is the crucial point, unlike with a public chatbot, the interactions your students have inside your custom gem, inside your private study room, are not used to train Google's bigger AI models. What happens in the study room stays in the study room, period.
And on top of that privacy, the study room has its own security system. There are built-in safety filters that automatically block harmful or inappropriate content. This creates a much safer walled garden for learning, which protects students from the, let's face it, wild and unpredictable nature of the open web.
All right, let's bring it all together. Why does this shift from that public library AI to a private study room AI? Why does it really matter for the future of learning?
The key takeaway really is that transformation. We are moving away from a generalist AI that just knows everything to a specialist learning partner that an educator can design to know exactly what their student needs to learn right here, right now. It's a huge move from just raw information to truly guided learning.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question for the future, doesn't it? As more and more educators start designing and even sharing these custom AI study rooms, each one tailored for a specific subject or a specific skill, what new possibilities for truly personalized education are we about to unlock?